You're sitting there right now, scrolling like the world is guaranteed to stay polite. But let me ask you something you hate thinking about. If the nearest help vanished for 1 hour, would you still be alive when it came back? Most people wouldn't, and it's not because they're weak, it's because they're untrained. Here's the part nobody advertises. Disasters don't announce themselves, and emergencies don't wait for you to feel ready. A car wreck, a kitchen fire, a bad fall, a storm outage, an earthquake, pick your poison, it all cashes out the same way. In the first minutes, you are the paramedic, the firefighter, and the decision maker. So if you want to be part of the tiny minority that doesn't panic, doesn't freeze, and doesn't bleed out in the stupidest way possible, hit subscribe. Drop a comment with the one skill you've always meant to learn, and I'll tell you how to train it cheap. Now let's get tactical. Skill 1 is stopping blood loss, because red on the ground is a countdown timer. Movies teach you to slap a hand on it and pray, but reality rewards pressure, speed, and the right tools. You need to know how to make bleeding boring, because just a cut has ended more stories than villains ever did. You're going to buy a real tourniquet, and you're going to stage it where your hands can find it blind. Not buried under a junk drawer, not in the trunk under groceries, on your belt, in your backpack strap pocket, in the glove box within reach. And you're going to practice one-handed, because the day you need it is the day one arm won't work. Here's the simple rule. For heavy limb bleeding, go high and tight, then tighten until the bleeding stops. It will hurt, and that's fine. Pain is cheaper than a funeral. Write the time down if you can, and don't peek every 30 seconds like a nervous raccoon because you're breaking the seal. If you don't have a tourniquet or the wound is in a place a tourniquet can't go, you need pressure and packing. That means stuffing gauze or clean cloth into the wound cavity and pressing like you mean it for a full 3 minutes. 3 minutes feels like forever when you're scared, which is exactly why people fail. And don't forget the small stuff that kills slowly. Infection. Cover wounds, wash hands, don't let dirt become a second problem riding shotgun. Your goal is to stop the leak, keep the tissue alive, and buy time. Time is the currency you're stacking. Skill 2 is keeping air moving, because you can't out-tough oxygen debt. If someone collapses, you don't need a medical degree. You need a plan. Check responsiveness, call for help, and start the work that matters. The point isn't to be perfect, it's to be immediate. CPR is simple physics. Push hard, push fast, let the chest recoil. Aim for 100 to 120 compressions per minute, about 5 to 6 centimeters deep on an adult, and don't turn it into gentle little pats because you feel awkward. Awkward is survivable. Cardiac arrest isn't. If an AED is available, you use it. Pop quiz. What do you do while everyone else yells, "Somebody do something"? You assign tasks like a commander. You call emergency services. You get the AED. You clear space. People freeze because nobody gives them a lane. Give them a lane. Choking is another one that ends lives fast and quietly. If someone can't cough, can't speak, and starts panicking, you act. Back blows and abdominal thrusts can clear an obstruction, and the only truly wrong move is standing there negotiating with time. Learn the technique from a reputable first aid course, then drill it until your hands remember. And if you're alone and choking, you need to know self-rescue, using a firm surface like the back of a chair to drive pressure upward. It's not elegant, but neither is dying in your kitchen because pride wouldn't let you look weird. Train the ugly solutions before you need them. Skill 3 is water, because your body will forgive hunger longer than it forgives dehydration. In a crisis, you're not looking for clean, you're looking for safe enough. And the difference between those words is what separates survivors from tragic headlines. You need sources, methods, and redundancy. First, know your sources. Running water upstream of people beats stagnant puddles every time. Collect from the clearest point. Avoid areas near industrial runoff. And remember that looks clean is not a medical test. If the water is questionable, pre-filter through cloth to remove debris before you do the real treatment. Boiling is brutally effective if you can do it. A rolling boil for at least 1 minute kills pathogens, and at higher elevations many guidelines recommend longer because water boils at a lower temperature. If fuel is scarce, you'll want chemical disinfection or a proper filter, but boiling is the gold standard when you can afford it. Filters are your daily driver option, but don't treat them like magic. Use a filter rated for bacteria and protozoa at minimum, maintain it, and protect it from freezing if it's a hollow fiber type. If viruses are a concern, you'll need additional steps like chemical treatment or a purifier designed for that threat. This is why redundancy matters. Chemical disinfection is lightweight and cheap, but it's not instant, and it's not universal. Follow contact times, mind cold water slowing the process, and keep your tabs sealed from moisture. And yes, the water can taste like a swimming pool. Congratulations, you're hydrated and alive. Flavor is a luxury item. Skill 4 is fire, because warmth, cooking, water treatment, and morale all orbit that flame. Fire is also a beacon and a liability, so you learn control, not just ignition. The goal isn't to feel like a rugged hero, it's to produce heat on demand in bad conditions. If you can't make fire when you're cold and stressed, you can't make it. You need to understand the triangle: heat, fuel, oxygen. Your fuel starts with tinder so dry it feels wrong, dryer lint, waxed cotton, resinous fat wood, commercial fire starters, then kindling, then small fuel, then the real stuff. People fail because they jump straight to logs like they're negotiating with a dragon. Start small, scale up. Wind and rain are not excuses, they're environments. Shield your flame, build under cover, and process wood. Split wet logs to access the drier core. If you're in a place where smoke gives you away, you pick a smaller, hotter fire, and you manage it like a professional, not a camper on vacation. Also learn when not to light up. Indoors without ventilation can poison you with carbon monoxide, and a cozy heat source can quietly shut your brain off while you sleep. If you burn fuel inside, you ventilate, you monitor, and you respect physics. Nature doesn't care that you were tired. Skill 5 is shelter and temperature management, because exposure kills way more efficiently than dramatic threats. Hypothermia isn't just snowy mountain stuff, it's rain, wind, and wet clothing at mild temperatures. Heat illness is the same deal. Quiet, fast, and underestimated. Shelter is a system: location, insulation, and moisture control. Start with the ground, because the ground will steal your heat like a thief with a degree in thermodynamics. Insulate under you with a sleeping pad, cardboard, pine boughs, even folded clothes, anything that traps air. Windproof your outer layer, keep your core dry, and remember, cotton kills when it's wet because it holds water and drains heat. Site selection is survival math. Avoid low spots where cold air and water collect, don't camp under dead branches, and don't build right next to a river that can rise while you're asleep. You want cover, visibility, and an exit plan. Cozy is not the same as safe. Know the early signs: shivering, clumsy hands, confusion, weird apathy. The dangerous part is when you stop shivering and start thinking you're fine. That's your brain lying to you to conserve energy. Add layers, eat something, get dry, and get out of wind. You're not proving toughness, you're preserving function. Heat is the other trap. If you're dizzy, nauseated, cramping, or your skin is hot and dry, you don't push through. You cool down and hydrate with electrolytes. Shade, airflow, wet cloth on skin, and rest can save you before it escalates. Your body is a machine with operating limits, not a motivational poster. Skill 6 is navigation, because getting lost turns a manageable problem into a rescue fantasy. Your phone is helpful until it isn't, and your sense of direction is usually just confidence wearing a fake mustache. You need analog skills: map, compass, landmarks, and pacing. Because "I think it's this way" is how people disappear. Learn how to orient a map, read contour lines, and identify handrails like rivers, roads, and ridge lines that guide movement. Practice taking a bearing and following it without drifting, because humans drift like shopping carts with one bad wheel. Count your steps over a known distance to build a rough pace count. That's how you turn walking into measurement. At night or in poor visibility, navigation is about discipline. Slow down, confirm your position often, and don't keep moving just to feel productive. The fastest way to lose hours is to make up time with bad decisions. If you need to stop and reset, do it before you're exhausted and angry. Anger is a compass that points nowhere. And yes, learn the sky basics: the sun's arc, the general movement of stars, and how clouds can hide everything when you need it most. Nature doesn't guarantee you a clear night with a helpful North Star. Your plan has to work when the universe doesn't cooperate. Skill 7 is communication and signaling, because surviving alone is harder than surviving smart. When things go sideways, you need to get help, coordinate, or at least leave information that isn't a vague, "I went that way." Your phone might still be a camera, a flashlight, and an offline map even if the network is dead. Use what works, then have backups. Build a simple family or team plan, meeting points, check-in times, and one out-of-area contact everyone knows. In chaos, local lines jam, but sometimes long distance still works. And don't rely on memory. Write it down on a card in your wallet and in your go bag. Stress deletes brain files. You need hard copies. For signaling, think simple and loud. A whistle carries farther than your voice. A mirror can flash for miles in sunlight, and a bright light at night is a beacon if you use it intentionally. The trick is contrast. 3 blasts, 3 flashes, repeating patterns that say, "Human here." Random noise says nothing. Radios are a force multiplier if you learn them before you need them. Even cheap handhelds can coordinate within a neighborhood, and weather radios can warn you before the sky turns mean. Don't buy gear and call it preparedness. Train with it, label it, charge it, and store spare batteries properly. Tools you can't operate are just expensive talismans. Skill 8 is situational awareness and de-escalation, because the safest fight is the one you never enter. Most people walk around like the world is a padded room, headphones in, eyes down, brain off. That's not relaxed, that's vulnerable. You don't need paranoia. You need a baseline and a habit of scanning. Start with exits and cover, always. When you enter a building, you clock the doors, the bottlenecks, the weird corners, and the mood. You're not judging people, you're collecting data. If something feels off, give yourself distance and a path. Pride is a terrible security system. De-escalation is a life-saving skill disguised as being calm. Keep your voice low, your hands visible, your stance non-threatening, and your words simple. "I don't want trouble. I'm leaving. Sorry, my mistake," are not weakness. They're survival language. Your goal is to break contact, not win an argument. Nobody gets a trophy for being right at the worst time. And here's the kicker most people miss. Your brain runs slower under adrenaline. So you train scripts ahead of time and you rehearse decisions like a fire drill. If you've never practiced saying, "No, stop, back up," your mouth will lock when you need it. Train the words, train the posture, train the exit. The body follows the reps. Skill 9 is sanitation and infection control, because the post-crisis killer is usually microscopic and boring. When water systems fail and trash piles up, disease doesn't need drama to spread. Your hands touch everything, then your face, then you wonder why everyone's sick. Clean habits are not nice. They're operational security for your body. You need a hand washing setup that works when plumbing doesn't, a container with a spout, soap, and something clean to dry with. Alcohol sanitizer helps, but it doesn't replace scrubbing when dirt and grease are involved. Treat your hands like tools that need maintenance. You wouldn't clean a rifle with hope, right? Same concept. Waste management matters more than people want to admit. If you're sheltering in place, you need a plan for human waste that keeps it away from water sources and living areas. Sealed bags, dedicated containers, lime or absorbent material, and strict rules save you from a slow-motion outbreak. It's not glamorous, but neither is dysentery. Food safety is part of this skill too. Keep raw and cooked separate, cook to safe temperatures when you can, and don't gamble with smells like you're starring in a bad reality show. If refrigeration is gone, your timeline shrinks fast, especially with meat and dairy. When in doubt, toss it. Hunger is survivable. Food poisoning stacks the odds against you hard. Skill 10 is improvised repairs and knots, because everything breaks at the worst possible time. If you can't fix gear, secure loads, or stabilize a shelter, you're bleeding efficiency every day. The modern world hides this from you by offering replacements on demand. In a real disruption, replacement is a fairy tale. You become the repair shop. Learn a handful of knots until you can tie them in the dark, a bowline for a fixed loop, a trucker's hitch for tension, a clove hitch for quick fastening, and a square knot only for tying 2 ends of the same rope. Practice with cheap cord while watching TV, because your fingers need muscle memory, not motivation. Knots are leverage, and leverage is survival. Then learn basic field repairs. Patching fabric, splinting a cracked tool handle, sealing small leaks, reinforcing stress points before they fail. A tiny sewing kit can save a jacket, a backpack strap, or a torn boot. Things that keep you warm, mobile, and functional. If you can't move, you can't adapt. Mobility is life. Here's the dark truth nobody wants. You can own all the gear in the world and still lose if you don't train the skills. Skills don't run out of batteries, don't get stolen as easily, and don't care what the market is doing. The system can fail, the road can close, the phone can die, but competence stays in your hands. That's why it scares people. So here's your choice. You can keep pretending emergencies are other people's problems, or you can pick one skill tonight, train it for 15 minutes, and stack the odds in your favor. Start with bleeding control and water, write your comms plan, and run a drill. Then come back and tell me what you trained. Your move.